2020, hey, what a year. We all lived through it, so I won't bore you with the details. In addition to everything, we saw a huge year of social upheaval. It felt like activism became a more common part of people's lives, not just reserved for the few with the time and energy as it had been in the past. Long-standing issues were laid bare for all to see, only exacerbated by the pandemic. Being a social justice warrior was no longer an insult. People, from celebrities to you and me, were being called out if they weren't doing something for a cause they care about. According to a report from the New York Times, the wave of urban uprisings that followed the murder of George Floyd likely constituted the largest social movement in US history, with an estimated 26 million Americans taking to the streets. In Australia, the outrage was reciprocated, with tens of thousands, including me, marching across the country to condemn the treatment of Black people abroad and at home. Many of you would remember, however, that the movement wasn't confined to the streets. Instagram was overrun with black squares. These were a visual representation of support, accompanied by a promise to black out one's own social media in order to amplify Black voices. The nature of being confined to our homes to reduce the risk of infection meant that many turned to digital platforms to express their anger and demand change. Similarly, it felt like every week there was another reckoning on the treatment of women in Australia. The names Grace Tame, Brittany Higgins, and Hannah Clark are now seared into the national consciousness, enforcing our understanding that women are not safe at school, at work, or at home. These stories lit a spark among Australian women of all ages, political views, and cultural and economic backgrounds. It seemed like some of the carefully placed barriers that had been in place to keep women quiet had all come crashing down. But this time, the news wasn't where the stories were confined to. Those in my circles, and I'm willing to bet many of yours, chose to express their anger and sadness and pain on social media, naturally taking any form of objectivity out of the conversation. Last year, it felt like everyone was upset, and rightfully so. But it was impossible to escape because platforms such as Instagram have created the perfect breeding ground for easily digestible and easily repostable infographics for simple comprehension of current affairs. I'm not saying that this is a bad thing at all. The proliferation of a new type of news that appeals to young people is leading to a better informed and more plugged-in generation. But stemming from the waves of pastel Instagram posts is a phenomenon now being referred to as performative activism. Although a topic may be receiving high engagement online, it's been noted that this engagement is performative, with users seeking to capitalize on a moment for social clout rather than actually support the movement and its demands. And it still has a place. Huge campaigns are centred around just building awareness for a cause, bringing attention to the injustices occurring or the plight of a marginalised group. But there is now something more that can be done for almost any social justice issue, from donating to volunteering to fundraising. The missing link between performative activism and real change is community. I like to think that anyone who's posting on their social media accounts about a cause they deem important is coming from a place of sincerity. However, social media's focus on the individual lends itself to performance. There is a social approval that comes alongside posting, with users conflating likes and views and follows with the new social currency. By engaging in the online world, we enter into a game dictated by an algorithm that is inherently individualistic. So, when wanting to start conversations about movements that are founded in community, what can really be achieved? We poke fun at those who've made careers from social media for being shallow. But if we're not taking action in the real world, we are no different. This is what I'm advocating for, a sort of return to the way that social movements used to happen. Looking back at some of the most effective movements to cause change in recent history, like civil rights, women's suffrage, the fight for Indigenous land rights, so much was able to be achieved through the collective action of so many who saw an injustice and sought to correct it. Being a member of Gen Z, I've been lucky enough to embrace technology in ways those who come before me couldn't. However, my key experiences doing work towards causes close to my heart has shown me the true power of community. By signing up to a student society in my first year of uni, I joined a group of like-minded women all working towards a common cause to empower women entering professional services. Now, as president of this society, I've been able to see how much of a genuine impact we've been able to have on our little corner of the feminist movement. Through the work we do, female students have been able to learn effective interviewing skills, network with successful women from a range of business fields, and even secure internships and jobs from the connections we provide. This community could not exist solely online, but that isn't to say that our digital platforms aren't a useful additional resource. The group can create online content to help our student members engage in bigger and broader topics than we are able to effectively tackle. Through coming together, we are able to have a much bigger impact than any of us could alone. Similarly, after seeing the horrific impacts of domestic violence in our country, I was inspired to take some form of action and volunteer my time. Helping to organise an annual fundraising event for a pro bono legal service that helps victims of domestic violence has been a much more effective way to channel my anger than just posting on Instagram. I'm a small cog in a very large machine that includes all types of stakeholders and change makers. But I know that my small actions for the cause are creating a difference. Of course, I still post about the issue on my social media accounts, but I believe I can confidently bring awareness to the matter because my actions in the real world are creating change for the cause. The distinction between performative activism and being a genuine activist or ally is not black and white, but I'm encouraging you all to take a real stand in whatever way you can. Of course, you can post online, but always ask yourself, what am I doing in addition to this? Am I speaking about this offline? How many people are actually being helped? Every person in this room will care about something. You would not be here listening to TED Talks all day if you didn't. We are the next frontier of change, and so I'm encouraging you all to seek out communities for the causes you care about. If one doesn't exist, get a group together and create your own. By combining activism and community, we can achieve amazing things.